Oh my God, Worlds 2021 has finally started, and it's Hotline League episode 191, which has also finally started.
Oh no.
Several months ago, we booked out a special guest who's, we've been waiting in anticipation of this episode for him to make his appearance finally. We always knew episode 191. This is the one where we want him. We're going to introduce him in a second. But first off, my constant co-host Mark Zimmerman is here. How's it going, Mark?
It's going good.
That's great. How's your sleep schedule right now?
Great. So I think I didn't realize the games were going to start a little bit later than they do, or earlier.
Like you thought they started like at 6 or at like 2?
I thought they started at 2 or 3. So
like
I had
last
kind of
year.
been preparing. Yeah. So I kind of been preparing for that, and it's more like 4 o'clock in the morning. So I was thinking like, I'll be going to bed at like 11, and then I'll be waking up at like 4 when Ashley gets home, and then I'll sleep another 4 hours. And now it's really more like 2 and 6 my sleep schedule. So I'm a little fucky, but I'll get there.
Yeah.
So you're sleeping after the games and then getting up at 6 p.m.?
No, I'm sleeping after the games and getting up at 2. Or
2 a.m.
Today I went to, no. I'll say it. Today I went to bed at 1:30 in the afternoon, and I got up at 3:45 when Ashley came home. Then I went to bed last night at like 10:30, 11ish, and I woke up at 3:30.
So you're gonna try to do the dual sleep schedule, like the sleep twice a day.
Yeah, that doesn't work very well. You should go to bed at like 6 p.m. and get up.
Well, here's the thing. But I'm gonna find a toned down version of this to say about Mark. I'll figure out a complimentary way to put it. Mark is a very wonderful and caring partner. And so I think that Mark, whenever he has any opportunity to spend some quality time with his partner, really wants to be able to do that. And so if he's sleeping the hours you're suggesting, Spawn, he cannot spend that time with his partner.
Good point.
I'll also say I have an amazing ability to just do whatever with my sleep schedule. I never.
Oh, it looks like it. You don't look like you've been punched in the face by someone twice at all.
Physically, I don't mean. Physically is whatever. My body's already falling apart, as we've established before the show started. That I'm getting carpal tunnel from how I sit with my laptop, and that this is strapped to my desk. No, none of that matters. I just mean some people emotionally struggle with the sleep schedule change.
No, I'm good with. Yeah, I'm good with the change. So obviously, when I was working in Australia on North American time, our scrims were starting at 3 a.m. every day. So coach meeting was at 2 a.m. So then I just became a 1-year-old. Like when Henry went to bed at night, I went to bed at night, and I found it.
Oh, we
fairly
gotta put
effective.
Spawn down.
Exactly right. And then Jasper and Jenna would be running around the house, and I'd be like, "Will you guys keep it down? The 1-year-old and the 30-year-old are trying to sleep." Yeah, good fun.
Such a struggle. All right. Well, the voice that you are hearing right now with the accent, we all have accents, but his is different than ours, is Spawn. How's it going, Spawn?
Pretty good. I'm in off season. Path of Exile grind has really ramped up because obviously there's only 2 and a bit weeks left of the season. So I'm going to create a bunch of builds and spend all my currency, and then Mark Z and I are going to kick off fresh characters on the 22nd of October.
We're playing Genshin for this Worlds again.
Yeah.
I got the memo.
Kobe told me you were playing something else with him, that you guys started I forget.
We started Divinity 2, yeah. And then that lasted one night because
he said you were refusing to do something. I forget what it was.
No, so what I didn't know is when you play Lone Wolf, it only really buffs DPS classes.
Oh, okay.
And I don't play I think Mark has never. Maybe I haven't even played a game like this with Mark. But when I play D&D, when I play even things like Path of Exile and stuff like that, I am a big supportive person. So I always played S Priest, Priest, things like that. I don't play just outright DPS classes. I think people, a little bit of a rant, Travis. Yeah. If you play an MMO or a similar game and your class has no option to tank or heal, you are purely a DPS class, you're a selfish dick.
Wait, really? But
that
means you can't play half the classes
60% of the player base.
Yeah. And 60% of people are jerks, Mark. And it turns out Lone Wolf is only good for DPS classes. So I want to play it again. with Kobe. But I said like next time we should get a group of 4 to play because like I want to be able to like CC lock things and like buff people up. And like I kept giving all these shields to Kobe, and then Kobe's like one-shotting shit, and he's like, "Look, I'm OP. Wow, you're a useless sack of shit." And I'm like, "Well, I am because like I don't get any benefits from being a lone wolf. I need party play in my life."
I would probably play that game. I fucking love that game. It's one of my favorite
let's
games.
play.
Okay. We'll figure it out.
But otherwise, I'm good, Travis. Very, very good.
Good. Well, glad to hear it. How, honestly speaking, how much of Worlds have you had a chance to watch? Because I mean, I don't know if
I watched all of it.
UFC.
Of course.
Oh, you watched all of it.
100%. Yeah. So I did the opposite of Mark. So I've got a tactic where I get up at like 9, which is like halfway through Worlds. And Mark, I'm sorry. Because you'll probably take offense to this, as will a lot of my colleagues on the analyst desk. But what I do is I'll watch a game live, and then while the analyst desk is on, watch a game that I missed, then watch a game live, then while the analyst desk is on, watch a game I missed. So I get like the whole World's experience minus the analyst desk, and then obviously afterwards I go back and I watch all the analyst desk segments. But so I watch everything from like 9 to like noon ish. I get to put all the games in.
Gotcha. All right. Well, that will be good. Because then you guys, we were talking about this, and when we were worried we wouldn't have a guest for this episode, I was just like, dear God, like if because we've only got 1 day's worth of games, and so I'm sure we're going to talk a lot about like the meta and the champion picks and all that stuff. And Lord knows that I'm an idiot when it comes to the meta stuff. So.
The other thing, as Mark knows, Travis, and I'll start giving away secrets because I'm not a shoutcaster anymore. Everyone, open up gameoflegends.gg, Oracle Elixir, and then you can be a caster too. Because as long as you have the numbers in front of you, like nothing you need to say after that needs to make sense. Like, if LeBlanc was picked 5 times today, that's all you need to know. You don't need to know why, how, position in the draft, what it was used for. Just spout the numbers.
That's if you want to be a basic caster. If you also want to be like a really pro caster, just grab a couple narratives out of the hat. You know, you got like this little hat of narratives that we actually have around the office. You pluck a couple out for that game, and you just
some buzzwords. You go to a producer for a buzzword or two, and you get it done.
Danny's amazing. Danny's the best young AD carry we've ever seen. Doesn't matter if he's 0-4 that game. That's the storyline today, guys.
Cloud9, by the way, has a 100% first blood rate in this and first tower as well in this tournament.
Europe,
that fun stat.
Europe
you guys
hasn't won a game.
That's true. That's true. They have not won anything, whereas we've won all of the games that we've played. By the way, I would be remiss if I did not mention that this episode, like all of our episodes this year, are sponsored by Alienware and Gamefield. So thank you to both of them. We're going to talk about them later on in the show, but.
Are you playing New World? Is anyone playing New World here?
I started New World, and then I started with Kelby and Julie, and it's very frustrating because I spawned, like, I guess you can't pick your starting zone, and so I spawned in a different starting zone than them, and then I played for like 2 hours to get to where they were, and then we had still different quests, and so we would go out but then be doing different quests, and it felt bad because I want to play an MMO with friends, and that has not been the option. So I don't know. I might play some after stream today. We'll see.
That kind of sounds like standard MMO stuff, though. I feel like a lot of times in MMOs, classes get put in different areas and shit.
No, you normally can pick your like faction or race or whatever, and then that allows you to start in the same area.
It's like tomorrow, right? And like you picked human and I picked dwarf. We're doing the Iron Forge
but we
Stormwind
can all
run,
start
right?
dwarves. This was like you can't even. There's no. I did not choose anything that put me in a different starting area. It seemed to just be very random.
Okay.
That's where I'm going.
I bet you just didn't get it.
There's a way to avoid that, says Gondrum in chat. I didn't want to be the person that said it, but...
The game intentionally places people in different places, says McGreg's. Okay, so see? That's been my issue. And I tried to play a little bit today. I wanted to play Genshin with Mark, but Mark was very difficult to... For the past 2 days, Mark and I have been trying
Spawn,
to...
Are you laughing at the use the map comment?
Yes,
you and I both just started
I could
laughing
use the map.
at that.
It would take forever to get up to where the other person was. It's not like they're right next to each other. Somebody says, has the show started? Yes, the show has started.
Yeah, we're roasting Travis about his inability in a game about colonialism not to use a map.
Anyway, have either of you tried to start New World?
No.
No.
Okay, so you guys are experts in mocking me in this game you haven't even tried.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's expected. No, is this?
Standard. I would give it a shot because I'm bored. I'm in off season, right? So like,
Yeah.
obviously, I have tons of work to do. Steve, Dodo, if you're watching this, don't feel to throw any more on the plate. But like, I do have a little bit of free time, so I can put some games in there if we're down for New World.
I've heard other folks are way higher level too, like other team staff are max level or whatever, close to it in New World.
Ooh.
So
I'm probably not gonna play it for a while because I'm all in on Genshin.
All
There's so much
Path of
fucking stuff.
Exile out. Oh, Genshin again. This
Yeah.
Genshin game really seems to be forming a rift between me and Mark.
it's good. I wanted to play it. Mark for the past 2 days. I know this is going to cue the haha he totally was ignoring you thing. But for the past 2 days, it has seemed like Mark has been avoiding me because I've been trying to get in touch with him. Yesterday, we oftentimes use Messenger to talk, and Messenger was down, so I was hitting him up on Discord and stuff. He doesn't replying. I call him and he answers. He goes, "Oh." And then today, same thing. I'm trying to get a hold of him, and then
Okay, anyone who tries to talk to me on Discord can attest that I just don't check Discord.
You don't respond at all. Twitter, same
No.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I feel bad sometimes, and I'm like a caller DMs me, and I scroll up to be like, okay, what are they saying, for the show, and then I see I have all these messages from fucking people I know that are just unread, and I'm like, oops.
Yeah.
Anyways, Maid is really good. I watched Maid over the weekend with Ashley. That show is super good on Netflix. Netflix is putting out so
Maid.
much good shit right now. Like
All of them
was
are.
digging mid. Wait, what's going on? Why are they all like?
Well, I was
suddenly
thinking about
doing
this, like NBC, CBS, ABC, all these old. They used to make all the stuff. Now they make all the bad stuff, and then all the stuff that wins the awards are all on Hulu, HBO, Apple
Yeah, but
TV, Paramount
I
Plus.
feel like that's been true for like a little while now. I just mean like specifically summer did not have much good programming, and as soon as like the last month hit, I actually can't even keep up with all the stuff I want to watch. Where usually I'm like desperate to try and find anything interesting.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to think of. Oh, I beat Humankind on max difficulty level, which was pretty fun. Anyway, I guess we should.
Googling all these things. Like, I have never heard of Maid. I've never heard of Humankind. Oh, that looks cool.
Humankind is good. It's really good.
You watch Squid Game at least?
Nope.
Have you heard of?
Yeah, I've heard of that one. Something about they open a container and there's a weird shape inside. I've seen lots of great memes be done about it. I watched Q Into the Storm. That was the latest thing I watched.
Midnight Mass isn't horrible. You asshole in chat. How
Okay.
dare you?
Well, his name is Seaman Demon, so I don't know what you were expecting. Anyway, should we actually start talking about Worlds yet?
I guess.
Sure.
There's some funny little tangential things that I want to mention before we talk about the games, and we'll get this out of the way because I know you guys won't have much of an opinion on them. But one thing I had not considered when they moved Worlds to Europe was the impact that that it would have on all the merch that they made. Did you guys see these posts on Twitter?
No, is this?
So I guess a bunch of the merch that they had made has like all these cities in China on it or whatever. Like it's all branded for like Worlds in China. And so what they have to do now, so what they're doing is, here we go. It says, due to the sudden location change, we were not able to produce a collection that would represent the new location. The World's 2021 collection features beautiful and unique designs inspired by the original Shenzhen, China location. Rather than, this is kind of cool that they're doing this. Rather than having our World's 2021 collection go to waste, we will sell select merchandise at a discounted rate of 20% and have the proceeds donated to charities that support COVID relief funds, the Riot Games Social Impact Fund. So anyway, yeah, they're not going to make any money off of this stuff, but it's just like, and I'm happy they figured out a way to do it, but it is funny because if you go and look at this stuff, it's like Worlds in China. It's, it's got all the Chinese branding and stuff on it. It's very interesting.
I'm just gonna pretend it's in China then.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Wow.
they honestly
Looking
kind of,
as well
if they had
made.
not messaged it, they almost could have.
Looking kind of cold in China this time of year.
Yeah. It's just like don't tell the players. They won't notice, quite frankly. They're not looking. You're herding them onto planes. They're not going to notice. And then and then just pretend, put a bunch of branding in the studio. Nobody would have ever noticed. So that's interesting. The other thing that is interesting that I will just note, because I think it is a big deal, even though I know the majority of our listeners and the two lovely gentlemen on this show will not find it interesting. Riot has a new head of global LoL esports. So a person who's in charge. So John Needham was the guy who was previously in charge of all esports, still in charge of all esports, but was managing like Valorant and League and all that stuff. Naz Ali Taha, I think is how you say her name, last name. She has worked at Riot for as long as LCS has been around, maybe even longer. And she did all the biz dev stuff and partnership stuff. I've interviewed her before, if you guys might recall. But we did something with her around the MSI announcement for when it was in Iceland the first time, or this year. Anyway, she just got promoted. She's now head of global LoL esports. So it's a bit of a shakeup over on the I shouldn't say shakeup. It's a bit of a change over on the Riot side, and now I have somebody else to complain about if something goes wrong. But she's always been a very nice person, so I'm excited for her. But we'll see. It's interesting. I will put her name in the Twitch chat. It's spelled Naz, because I saw some people asking about this. Aletaha. You can look her up on Twitter, give her a follow or something. Congratulations to Naz on the promotion. Interested to see how it goes. All right. How about the what else happened this week besides the first game of days, or first day of games? There we go. First game of days.
Nothing.
Team Liquid released their video. Spawn was not in it. Very disappointing.
No. I'm personally very thankful I wasn't in that video. But some might call it disappointment. I would say dodging a bullet. Also, like, we got our new Spider-Man merch out.
Oh yeah, you guys have it's like a Japanese-inspired Spider-Man collab. I saw it.
Yeah, it's actually it is so dope. I love TL merch. I just wear it all the time. So yeah, got that out. That's cool.
What else do we got? What else do you got for us, Twitch chat? Anything else?
The Australian government is allowing people to go back to Australia earlier than December. They've opened it up from November. So I think it's about 75 to 100,000 Australians. There's a few people that are stuck overseas. And the New Zealand government has done the opposite. They've just told all the UFC fighters that they can't go back to New Zealand if they stay in America. So, yeah,
wow,
interesting.
Well, happy for you that you get to go back.
Specifically UFC fighters?
Yeah, actually it is. So it's really obviously if you don't care about oceanic politics, may as well turn off the rest of the episode because I'm not going to be silenced. So I think they have other sports teams like their rugby teams traveling, and they've said that that's good because it brings wealth to New Zealand and a bunch of other stuff. And then Dan Hooker has agreed to fight Islam, and it's yeah, he's been denied, so he might not be able to go back to New Zealand for the whole year. He's got kids and stuff over there. I feel really bad for the dude. I like Dan Hooker; he's a great fighter, but yeah, it sucks.
Twitch chat wants us bringing it back to Worlds and LoL esports. Twitch chat or JK Juicy Kim wants us to talk about Riot's copyright BS, which I assume you don't mean. Well, I guess it's technically a copyright thing, but they are prohibiting anyone from restreaming or broadcasting any of the Worlds games for a 24-hour window, which I think it's really weird that they say 24-hour window, because in practice the vast majority of the time it's a 36-hour window, because you're not gonna you could stream the first day or first game of the day when the next one is happening, because they're all back to back, you know what I mean? So it's an interesting situation, but yeah, people were bummed about that because they were hoping that Captain Flowers would be able to do that. He had announced that he was going to be able to basically be hey, you missed the games this morning because you were asleep. Well, don't worry, I just woke up and it's 1 p.m. and we're going to watch them all together for the first time. That's not allowed. I watched live as Doublelift did he did the first game and the Cloud9 game today, and then the Riot Games police showed up in his Discord. And Peter did his best to say, well, it's the policy, and I understand it's the policy, but I disagree with the policy. So That was kind of interesting.
Wait, so Double Lift just like went for it.
So
to
he
lives?
was
Stood it.
so
I
he-
just blatantly ignored. Is that what you're trying to accuse him of right now, Travis?
I turned on the stream because I was like, wait, is he doing this? He's not allowed to do this. And in chat, everyone is spamming, you're not allowed to do this. And he goes, no, I don't think that's a thing because they haven't told us anything about that. I haven't heard anything. They never said anything. And everyone keeps spamming, you're not allowed to do this.
Like literally everyone knows what the person
and so
who
he
should
goes
know.
he goes through 2 games. He goes through 2 games. After the first one, I was like, please watch the Cloud9 one before Riot finds you because I would like to see you review the Cloud9 one. And so he watched, not obviously I think because of me, but he does go to the Cloud9 one, watches it, and at the end of the Cloud9 one, he goes, Lena comes up to him and says, you're not allowed to do this or whatever. Check your Discord. Because I saw somebody from Riot in the chat in Discord being like, check your Discord. Sorry, in the Twitch chat being like, check your Discord. And Peter looks over. He's like, what? Oh, I'm not allowed to do this. He's like, they never said it. And then he's like, what? And then he goes, oh, they did say it in the co-streamer Discord 4 days ago. Never mind. And then he was like, okay. He owned up and was like, I'm an idiot for not seeing it. But then he obviously was unhappy with the decision. So
that's my defense.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say that's my defense with literally every crime I commit. I'm like, you didn't tell me that this was I couldn't do this.
Yeah. Somebody says, does it apply to Riot associated streamers or does streaming apply to all streamers unable to stream Worlds content? Yeah, I don't think anyone can do this. Otherwise, Riot will chase you down.
All you can do is a live view, which is when you have just your audio or the audio.
They can't stop you from doing that. They legally cannot stop you from doing that. You could do the same thing with like a baseball game or a basketball game or something. But
my understanding, don't quote me on like the Riot stuff because obviously I don't understand this from Riot's end. But I also know that like with a certain amount of editing and things like that, you should also be able like to use highlights / snippets of the game.
Yeah,
because I know that there's some law somewhere that is like at a certain point, if you alter a broadcast enough, it stops being theirs and starts being yours. But I am definitely no legally type. So where that line is, Twitch chat, the only way to find out is if everyone starts editing random parts of Worlds and seeing what they can get away with.
Well, my understanding is that
fair use stuff.
The line fair use is kind of like the line is there's not actually ever a clear line, and you basically have to go to court, and then the judge decides. This is my limited understanding. The judge decides every time.
You're
so in
right.
reality, fair use doesn't really exist in practice. Because like I don't think you could try to do that with NBA clips because NBA will just be like, okay, we're gonna sue you, and like we'll figure out in court. You know, like
we're gonna sue you the next time, and just until we have slightly less money and you're homeless. Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
There's a couple like general outlines of fair use in terms of like length of the thing that you clip, you know? But generally speaking, people will just, if you're making enough money out of it, they'll come for a slice of that pie.
Yeah. That sucks. Like, well, it's good and it sucks, right? Because like, obviously I think that everyone enjoys people like Captain Flowers content, Double Lift's content, K-Drawl's content, LS's content. Like, I think, like, you're not, like, a lot of fans of League of Legends. Like, I mean, there's a reason you're watching this content right now, right? I assume if you're in the chat, you're a fan of, like, alternate perspectives and points of views. So,
they're a fan of cats.
Yeah, that too. But, like, at the same time, I do kind of get it because they want to drive as many eyes to the main broadcast as possible. And they want to reward the people that are on the live show. So I get both sides of it.
I don't know.
The
I struggle
beautiful.
with the both sides aspect, but if somebody wants to call in and talk about it, I think that would be great. Because I think it would be cool. Whereas we're just all talking about it. Yeah. Okay. Other than that, we had the games.
Tie.
What?
Well, bow tie boy.
Oh,
Can't say the bow tie, Travis.
the animal. Yeah. Anyway, so obviously. We've talked about all this other stuff, but the big thing is games officially started today. Talk about the broadcast, can talk about the games. Cloud9, spoiler alert, won, which is awesome. And I think they looked pretty like we did Rift Reaction, I think two. I mean, we did one last week, but Emily was out last week, and so we were talking about the plane stuff 2 weeks ago. And Emily was like, if you remember Detonation Focus Me, looked pretty good against Cloud9 at MSI, and now they have to play each other. And I know a lot of other people are kind of concerned about it too, but it did feel pretty one-sided. So not.
Oh, it was fucking awful game to watch. C9 dominated the whole entire time.
Yeah.
It wasn't even close.
So, like, Cloud9 in spring, and Mark will probably remember this because we were on the analyst desk a couple of times when we were talking about it, had, like, this game plan where, like, Blabber would start bottom side jungle, like, Fudge would, like, do a really great job. Fudge's first 3 waves is, like, actually pretty good most of the time. He would do a really great job of, like, either stacking the waves or freezing on people depending on what the matchup dictated. And then Blabber was really good at capitalizing on it. And we're quite critical of, like, some other junglers. Like, I remember one segment we did on Iconic for, like, bad adaptation to, like, kind of what seemed to be a preset play for Cloud9. And this looked much more like that Cloud9. Like, I mean, if you guys watch the game, Fudge does a really great job of setting up a top turret dive. They deny, like, 2 creeps, 2 sets of creep waves, and then he's on 4 creeps. Like, it's Aurelia into Gnar. Like, Evi's on 4 creeps, and then he stays on 4 creeps for 2 extra creep waves. And then the Nexus explodes. Like, to anyone that knows League of Legends, like, the game's over. So, like, I think that Cloud9 actually did a really great job, and it's good to see them back to playing around one of their good players' strengths. And it's even better that he's Australian.
So
good on you, Fudge.
Help me, by the way, because people were talking about how the draft was so bad, but I also know that Arya is, like, I saw that tweet that went around that was about how Arya's undefeated on LeBlanc this year, and, like, that's... like
the problem,
big deal.
I mean, like, in theory, it wasn't like their draft was unplayable as its own 5 units, and, like, a lot of those were signature champions, like Evi's Gnar and stuff like that. But it was like they're not banning the Aurelia. Was I think a big one for a lot of people. That, like, it wasn't even like they didn't ban it 4-5 and stuff like that. It was pretty chill. After
Issues like I mean, tell me when I get too boring, right? But I can already acknowledge, like, 2 issues is, like, Aurelia should be able to push in Gnar, and you're never going to be able to get push as Alistar into Leona for the first 3 waves. So you got 2 side lanes that you technically have to path towards as the Xin Zhao, and then Xin Zhao also farms slower than Qiyana. So generally in a game where you have, like, 2 side lanes that aren't going to have control over their wave, and you are a slow jungler, your game's unplayable. Like, I know that sounds like you shouldn't make, like, concrete statements like that, but really they're going to have pushing mid, slower jungler, and, like, their mid lane is going to have to be able to defend everywhere, and then, like, Cloud9 are just going to be able to pick where they beat you, at least in my opinion, for, like, the first 5 minutes of this game. So I'm not a huge fan of Detonation Focus Muse draft. In saying that, if they somehow got through the first 20 minutes of the game even, they have Alistar, Gnar, Xin Zhao, all pretty good scaling picks, so... I mean, there's a world where they can win this game. Just take some luck in the early game.
Well, okay. Thank you. That's helpful. Regardless,
I don't know.
I think maybe we should start taking calls because we've been chatting away for 30 minutes now. Mark, you want to explain how the show goes? Because we have... I mean, it's a Tuesday. We're filming a little bit later, so maybe we have a different audience today.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen the show before, it's a live call-in show. I am spamming the link to the Discord in the Twitch chat where you can try and get on the show. When you get here, go ahead and join the pleb calls or sub calls voice channels, and then the text channels up above, pleb topics or subtopics. Go ahead and write in what it is that you want to talk about. I'll be looking at these chats. If I see one that I like, I'll pull you from your voice chat room into the waiting room where you will hang out until it's your turn to come on air and hit us with that take.
And if you are a sub, first off, thank you for being a sub. We appreciate it a lot. But that'll also give you access to the subtopics chat where you can drop your take in there. Doesn't guarantee that you'll be on the show, but it does move a little slower there, so it's a little bit, I don't know, bit of an advantage. We're pay to win here. That's the point.
Oh, yeah.
That I'm getting at. All right. While Mark is looking for those takes that you guys have just been talking about, I want to give a shout out to some of our subs who've been subbing over this. Speaking of them, to checks Jay Schroed, Orange Moore, Robert Max for 1 year. Thank you. Smoke Dog, 28 months. Sally Czar, Weather Mullet, Hobnobbin, Rosh FPS, Gabe O Live for another year. Thank you. Dasher 777, Chief Xanthopus, a Big Angry Hobo for 40 months. And Abel as well. Thank you, everyone, for the subs. That's been very generous of you. By the way, shout out to somebody in the chat, or actually Abel, I think, with their sub said love Hotline League and also Rift Reaction. Yeah, we had if you guys we don't have a Rift Reaction until the end of play-ins, but if you guys want to hear, I talked to Cadril, Lyric, and Chronicler on last week's episode. That's on Spotify, so I just want to give a quick shout out to that. That was really cool. Chronicler, by the way, very handsome man. I don't know how many people were paying attention to
pull up a video.
The broadcast today. The broadcast today, he just looked like he was like ready to take everyone out on a date, and then
he's well put together. Yeah,
start singing to them.
He looks like what Mark Z would look like if Mark Z looked after himself.
Who?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes. Hello, Murderino. Welcome to the show. Where are you calling from?
Yeah, calling from Ontario, Canada.
Ontario, Canada. And what do you want to talk about on the show today?
Yeah, I want to talk about the fact that Hanwha is going to end up 3rd or 4th for Group A, and is going to get knocked out by one of the minor regions.
Interesting. Do you have any predictions on who the minor region is?
I'm leaning between Galatasaray or I know technically Beyond Gaming isn't really minor, but I'm going to go ahead and say one of the two.
Okay.
I mean, either way, Hanwha getting knocked out would be an upset.
Yeah, that's the hot
take.
take.
For sure.
Okay. Why do you believe this?
Yeah, so I think, first of all, there seems to be a lot of priority going to top lane. And I think everybody knows that of the major region players, Morgan is probably the weakest top laner that's at Worlds right now. But I think
you're including North America and Europe in there as well?
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Okay.
I think their bigger issue, though, that they showed today is their drafting is just horrendous. And so I think it's going to be more their draft gap that puts them behind the rest of the teams.
Okay, so you think that the draft is what's going to be the issue, and that's what will occur.
I think it's going to be a bit twofold. Between Morgan just not being able to compete on top lane. They lose top lane, which loses them early game. And it seems like once that happens, they aren't drafting well enough to overcome it.
So top gap and draft gap.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's throw it over to Spawn for Spawn. Are they going to make it out? And if they don't, will it be because of those two reasons?
So Hanwha so far, correct me if I'm wrong, they've played one game. They played against LNG, which...
Two games.
Two.
Did they play against 2 games? So who did they play their second game against? Okay, they beat
Infinity. And they barely won.
Yeah. So... Okay. I mean, I think that there is a world where they don't make it out. I think that, like, that is, like, in my head, like, it sounds like a bold statement, but it's, like, conceivable to me. Like, I think the minor regions have actually stepped up. I think the teams that the caller has, like, identified also, like, are teams that I would be looking at. I think Beyond Gaming also had a pretty sloppy first game. So, like, you know, Galatasaray or whatever they're called, like, they went up today for me, Beyond Gaming, who, like, I held pretty high because, as the viewers would know, I'm a big on the LMS, and I hold PSG pretty high. They can't challenge PSG. Then they came to Worlds, they looked pretty crappy. So I'm trying to do the napkin math everywhere. The one thing I will say is that Ale, or Ale, Ale if you read his name, Ale if you listen to the LPL broadcast, so I'll say it both ways, is like been kind of 2.0. And I actually thought, like looking at the laning phase, that Morgan did okay. Willow was up there like 2 times, burnt the first 2 flashes of Ale. I'm going off like 9 a.m. spawn brain.
No,
but
you got
like,
it right.
I didn't think Morgan actually looked bad in that game. My favorite AD carry of all time is Deft, so I say this with as much love in my heart as possible. Is Deft solo cost them that game. He like died bottom lane when they were just getting momentum rolling. Then he got picked mid lane and cost them Baron, I think. And like I think like Deft had like an absolute shocker. So like I would say that the caller's like take is like conceivable, but I will stick up a little bit for Morgan because even though he had an 0-4-0 scoreline, it's probably really easy to point the finger at him, like based off his scoreline in this game. Like I think Ale is the strongest point of that team, and he played fairly well. And Dep should be a veteran, should be the strongest point of the Hanwha team, and played pretty poorly. So like I can see it happening, but I would throw Deft under the bus to defend Morgan a little bit more, I think. And Morgan in his solo queue, from what I've seen, has actually looked pretty good. Obviously, solo queue, not everything. I acknowledge that. But I've been trying to track him because I knew that this was going to be like one of the hot takes coming from Worlds. I don't think, to coin my old phrase, Morgan ain't that bad. He might be bad, but he's not that bad.
I'm on the same page as you. And since you love Deft, and if you didn't see the second game, Deft made a ton of huge plays to win them that game as Ezreal popped off really hard and just like shit all over Infinity a bunch of times when they tried to engage on him. So, it was a better game too, a little bit, but yeah, game one draft with like the all melee physical damage team basically, and like Karma support. It just, I didn't love it. Especially like the Jax counter pick was perfect, and you're playing this like all auto attacking team into a Jax one trick. Like Ale plays it all the time. I shouldn't say one trick, a specialist, I guess you would say. He actually didn't play it like an insane amount during the regular season, but started playing it more towards playoffs. And then I think the Gragas counter pick, like I was a little bit surprised when I saw it, but then when Icon explained his reasoning in the post game interview, I actually thought it made a lot of sense. And Hanwha's comp, you saw like felt pretty good for like 15-20 minutes, and then just got shit on by LNG in team fights. And then the second game, Hanwha did like the typical Korean thing where like we're skill gapping you during lane phase and we're gonna just be better. And then like mid game, they started throwing really hard and got caught out a bunch of times around mid turret and just lost a bunch of fights. And from there, Infinity's comp's like a better 5v5. Doesn't scale better, but like it's much easier to hit bullet time, Curse of the Sad, bullet time, and Zoe and like all this shit kind of, and just throw their ults at people. And then they just got outplayed again later. But it didn't look great for a while when Hanwha was getting caught out and dying over and over again. And again, I don't think Ezreal Azir is going to be the meta. I really hope World's meta is not that. And it felt kind of like falling back on safety of like, hey, we're better than this team. We'll just pick scaling and range.
Ezreal's Deft has played Ezreal for 11, like literally, like I won't say 11 years. That's an exaggeration. Like
10?
probably the last 6 years. Like when it's been good and when it hasn't been good. And he is one of like in the LPL we used to give out Ezreal licenses, and like Imp and Deft were the only two people with Ezreal license. We even revoked Uzi's Ezreal license at a certain point because like the champion was just useless and he made it look useless. So I would say even though I don't think Ezreal is going to be meta, Deft will play a lot of Ezreal at this World Championship, and then people will start playing Draven into it, and we'll get some really cool bottom lanes.
McGreg's in the chat spawn wanted me to ask you to elaborate on your Bin 2.0 comments that you made earlier about Ale.
Yeah. So like what I mean by that, and I think like a lot of fans will appreciate this if you don't watch the LPL, is the LPL is really great at once a year giving you a player you've never heard of, and then people being like, wow, this guy could actually be the best in his role. And he plays a little bit on the edge and like is a coin flipper and things like that. And I think like if you look at like LNG's run throughout the playoffs and throughout the rest of the regular season, Tarzan was, like, in my opinion, definitely their best player. But like Ale was their wild card and like the person that could win them a lot of games. And the way I looked at Suning last year was very similar, where I don't think that Ben was their best player, but like he was their wild card, and when he popped off, it made it much easier for them to win the game. I think he just fills a similar role and is equally going to blow up. By the end of Worlds, if LNG go deep, I assume this guy is going to be like very loved by a lot of fans because he plays the game the right way. He plays an exciting, in-your-face, like aggressive play style that fans like to watch.
Okay, so from both of you, chances that Hanwha does not make it through. Plans.
What's a caller's first? Sorry, I forget the caller's name.
Murderino. You can see it in Discord.
Murderino. What do you think? Chances?
Oh yeah. What are your odds, Murderino?
Honestly, with how they played today, I'd probably say 40%. They don't make it into groups. 40-50.
Okay.
40 or 50. I mean, you said they weren't going to go through, so if it's 50%, I'm going to force you down to 40 because you can't. If you're making the call that it's not going to happen, I won't allow it to be a coin flip.
Fair. To keep the spiciness of the take.
Yeah. All right, Spawn. How about you?
I would say like 10 to 15%. Because like all I'm thinking is like you just got to come like first couple and then be able to win the best ofs. And I think that we've seen in the past that like the best of ones in play-ins is definitely not where you should be judging the tournament. And when it gets to like best of fives, like do people not remember WE last year, where everyone was like, you know, what kind of WE is going to show up, and then all of a sudden they just smashed Oceania in the best of five. I'm pretty sure. So like, yeah, I think that they'll get it together and they'll be fine. Oh, was it LGD? LGD, not WE. Sorry, they both wear red.
Mark, how about you? Chances Hanwha makes it out.
Yeah, I agree with Spawn. 90%. You flipped it on me.
Yeah.
But basically the same amount. Like, I think almost a guarantee they get out. I don't think, you know, there's struggles and, you know, the over hate on Morgan stuff. I think they'll still be fine, even with these drafts that are not great and will get exploited by better teams. I think, you know, they can still win against a lot of the competition that they're playing against right now. The biggest concern would be if they fumble, and this is like where my 10% comes from, is that they fumble getting second, because LNG's probably going to get first, and they get third, and then they have to play C9 or beyond, and maybe even Galatasaray. Well, I don't know yet. We'll have to see. But like then they have to play whoever's waiting on the other side of the bracket, and maybe one of those teams is good enough to actually beat them. But that's really where it's coming from.
All right. Well, we'll see. Murderino, thank you so much for the call. Really appreciate it. Is there anything you want to shout out before we move on to a quick break?
Yeah, shout out to Game Fuel as always. Stuff's delicious. And shout out to Liquid Plus.
Very good. Hey, thank you. I'll catch you next time.
Thanks.
Liquid Plus, by the way, is Team Liquid's cool premium fan experience. It's kind of like you collect miles for doing stuff, points for doing stuff. If people want to check it out, I think it's a really cool thing that they're doing. Also, Mark was mentioning in the Twitch chat, so I'll help him out here, that I think because people are maybe a little nervous to make too many takes today because it's the first day of Worlds, we're still looking for some takes. So if you have any, you know, we got a couple people in the waiting room, but maybe one or two more slots. We'll see. So go put in your takes in the Discord if you've got anything. Again, a couple options that we talked a little bit before the start of the show. So, but first, before we get to our next caller, I want to talk about Alienware. Alienware, I need to actually make sure they're still doing the Alienware games. I think they are, though. We're going to go to alienware.com/Travis. This is what all of you should always be doing all the time. Yeah, it looks like there's 2 more days as we record this to join the Alienware games at alienware.com/Travis. Click the big banner up at the top where you can compete to earn prizes in League of Legends, Fortnite, Valorant, and Rainbow Six Siege. It's all about competing and climbing the ranks, too. So it's not a thing where you have to worry about, you know, going out and assembling a team. I know if you're listening to the show, there's a good chance you don't have 4 friends to create a team, okay? So if that's the case, feel free to not worry about it and just go and sign up for this thing. It's really cool. They're doing it right now, and it's a national online tournament, again, across League, Fortnite, Valorant, and Rainbow Six Siege. You can compete in some of those. You can compete in none of, you know, only one of them. You can do all sorts of stuff. I guess you could compete in none of them, but that would not be cool. So go check it out. And again, just remembering alienware.com/Travis, we're trying to do a better job of keeping that banner up at the top with all sorts of cool rotating stuff, you know, whatever they're doing. Sometimes, I don't know, giveaways or contests or things like this, big promotions. That's really cool. So thank you so much to Alienware for sponsoring the show. We love them so much, and you'll hear from us about them again, because I'm always talking about them. They're amazing. All right, Mark, you want to go grab our next caller?
Yes, sir.
Thank you to, where are we? Darking for the 44 months, Ronnie for the 3, Raldios for 20, Fanboy for 9, and Lane Plox for the 19. Thank you so much, everybody, for the subscriptions. We're at 912 subscribers right now, so it's always nice to see. Waiting on Spawner. Spawner, are you reading anything right now?
No, I'm not. I started rereading Shogun, but then I got bored, so
okay.
I've stopped reading at the moment.
Well, I have a couple suggestions if you need any.
Please give me suggestions.
I updated the book channel recently for the first time in a while, and I did a video about Powder Mage. So you can go. You haven't read Powder Mage, right, Spawn?
Nope.
Did we talk
Hello.
about it before? I know,
No, I have
Mark,
not.
but I just was mentioning. Oh, we lost the caller anyway.
Why is he cute? What the?
Mark has to go get him. Our caller's leaving. Anyway, yeah, my Travis Gafford Books channel is finally updated for the first time in a while.
Okay, and it's a trilogy?
Yeah, it's a trilogy. And actually, the author, Brian McClellan, I've interacted with him. Mark and I have interacted with him a little bit because we were helping him out with a D&D show on Twitch. And he used to be a student of Brandon Sanderson. So if you like Brandon Sanderson stuff, Blitz is here. Yeah. Blitz is back. Blitz keeps pressing buttons, muting and unmuting and moving channels. Blitz, just chill and let us know where you're calling from. Blitz.
Oh, no.
And then they left the channel again.
Blitz. All right, let me try one more time.
Blitz, where are you calling from? Blitz?
He's having struggles.
Yeah.
This is the worst thing is when I've had tech problems before, and Travis just keeps saying shit at you when you already know you're having problems. He's like, Blitz, stop pressing buttons. And he's like, I fucking know that. But it's just, I don't know what's going on in my Discord.
Okay. Well, maybe we send Blitz back to the waiting room for now.
Yeah, we'll give him some time to figure it out.
Poor Blitz. I have not read Worm to answer the question in the chat. And also, yeah, Dune is coming out soon. I haven't read Dune. But I know it's obviously a classic.
There it is coming out. I'm so scared, Travis, because they made like a show about Foundation as well, which was obviously one of the books from my childhood. And I couldn't even watch it because of how bad the reviews were. So if Dune sucks, I'm out. Sci-fi, no longer there. I'm just becoming a fantasy junkie.
Hello.
Kobe made a tweet today. Hello, Mark. Kobe made I have to throw Kobe under the bus. He made a tweet today. Oh, wait, did he delete it? Oh, he might have deleted it. He made a tweet today with a Foundation meme, and then I shamed him by saying nobody's watching Foundation, so they wouldn't know. And it looks like he's deleted the tweet.
He actually deleted it?
I feel bad.
I tried to buy Foundation at I was at Barnes & Noble's this week, and I was trying to buy Foundation. And they fucking did that thing where they put the fake stickers on the book cover, you know? Like they print a sticker.
Signed set of Foundation.
What?
My dad gave me a signed set, so like the books, I've got them signed by Asimov. Jesus. Yeah.
Well, good for you. I can't get a regular fucking book cover of it because I hate this trend. Does anyone like this trend?
Of the fake sticker, the printed on sticker.
Of the fake sticker, put it on your book so that they can save a little bit of money and you can't ever fucking take it off to try and get the people who are just perusing through the bookstore and like, oh, it's a series on Prime, I guess, or Apple TV.
Blaine is here. Blaine, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from North Vernon, Indiana.
From where in Indiana? Sorry, you've been on the show before, but I had you turn down a bit.
Yeah, North Vernon.
North Vernon. Okay, what do you want to talk about on the show?
All right, so as an NA hopeful and a C9 fan specifically, when my boys at C9 make it out of play-ins, which they will, I think we have a 40% chance or higher to make it out of this group of death everybody's talking about.
Group A.
I think we could at least take a game off of Damwon and FPX, kind of like we did at MSI, and then hopefully 2-0 Rogue, maybe get a tiebreaker.
Okay.
One quick question. How confident were you in this take prior to them winning today?
Yeah, I was going to ask.
Well, I've always been confident. I've heard 2 months of every single podcast I've heard just shit talking.
Have we shit talked? Every single
one. Well, no, you guys haven't done like tier lists and all that stuff. But I've looked like at the wider range of all these like tier lists and shit. It's bad. Yeah.
Well, I don't think that any of the NA teams are ranking particularly well on the tier list. So.
Yeah, so I think you have to not use I mean, I don't know what tier list you're talking about, so maybe they were shit talking. But like, for example, I would put Cloud9 towards the bottom of this group. But I like Cloud9 as a team. I think that they do things well on Summoner's Rift. But the unfortunate situation is they pretty much got 2 first seeds, right? Like, no one's going to argue that like first seed from Korea is like a pretty big deal to play against. I don't remember a time that first seed of Korea has ever failed to make it out of group. And then FPX could have very easily been first seed of LPL until
They got
like
upset.
EDG upset them in that grand final, right? So like the unfortunate thing about Group A is like a lot of people are seeing it as like 2 first seeds, and therefore like why it is that group of death, I guess.
I mean, so yeah, you're talking about that one. I mean, I can kind of relate to Blaine's point about NA getting underrated. I even won't name names, but I heard in some meetings people thinking that, you know, like C9 might not get first in this group, which is fair. You know, maybe someone will be better than them. But, you know, one of the callers on the show last week was also like, I think that they'll be below DFM and some of these other teams. You know, C9 will be like the 3rd or 4th best team in this group. And I mean, I when I hear that, I'm like, what? Like, you really think that this team is worse than 2 to 3 teams in this current group that they're in right now? And like, I mean, I hear a lot of people saying that too, and I'm like, maybe it's just NA bias on my end, but probably more likely, everybody, you have huffed so much anti-copium and hopium for NA that you legitimately think a team with perks is worse than a lot of these other teams in their group.
What can I elaborate a little bit?
Yeah.
Of course.
So, like, the way I'm thinking about it is like, so like at MSI, everybody talked about how bad Cloud9 did, right? But we took a game off of Damwon, who would be in that group. We took a game off of RNG, who ended up winning MSI. And then hopefully we could take 2 games off of Rogue, but we'll just replace FPX for RNG.
No, here's
I don't
ahead.
see any reason we couldn't at least like force a tiebreaker.
but you know,
I
here's
think-
the problem.
Yeah.
Because what you just said is totally reasonable up until the very end. Because what the North America, I mean, I've been covering this shit for so long. It's almost certain that we will take a game off Damwon and a game off FPX, and we'll be feeling great. All right, and
Yeah.
then we'll lose to Rogue. You know, somewhere in that middle, but we'll be like, oh my god, like maybe we'll lose. I forget when they play Rogue on the schedule, but it's like, what if it's like the first day or something like that? And then, but then it'll be like, oh, Cloud9's charging up. Then we will just lose the second game to Rogue and end up going, I don't know, 3-3 somehow or something. I don't know what the math is, but like it's going to be something really stupid where we have these moments of brilliance followed by too many moments of idiocy. And then that will be the problem. That is my prediction for what will happen in this group. Is that like it's gonna look really great for a little bit, and then it's gonna somehow in the very end we're gonna be like, damn it.
True, happens every year, but I got that hopium.
Yeah, I know.
And just to be clear, in case my point didn't come through, I was only talking about playing groups. In Group A, they're fucked.
Okay.
I am not on board with what Blaine is laying down here, because it's like the classic thing of like, well, if we just fix all our problems and keep all the things that we did good, then we win. And it's like, yeah, but every team is dynamic, and like us performing well against like those teams that we beat during group stage of MSI, those teams that they beat are gonna fix those problems the same way that like, oh, well, we'll just not lose to Pentanet this time. You know, like they're probably saying the same thing. Well, we just won't lose to C9 this time.
So was it 2015 that was a terrible year for LPL?
2015 was the one that I think they blew up, where like EDG was the first seed and everyone just shit all over it.
And LNG, LGD had like Imp and like that, and they got knocked out in groups. And like I was like, okay, so I used to draw this graph, Blaine, and I think you'll like my graph. And this graph used to have the LPL's potential that they could play versus the floor that they could play, right? So I thought on their day, LGD could play like a 10 out of 10, like EDG could play out like a 9 out of 10. And then I thought like SKT and these Korean teams, they would play like an 8 or a 7, right? But then what I learned quickly about is like the competitive floor of some of these teams. And it just turned out the competitive floor of LGD was like a 2, and the competitive floor of EDG was like a -5. And so like I think the part of the call that I agree with is like, can North America beat the best teams? Like, yes, I think the ceiling of North America when they play well, as Mark has already pointed out, you have people like Blabber, you have people like Perps that like completely take over the game. If they get a good snowball rolling, they're going to be able to pop off. If it's even and they're on Teamfight Champions, there is every chance that someone like Sven can carry a game for you. And keep that hopium, because I think that we need fans like you. But my friend, if they achieve their floor in this group, there is a chance they don't win a game. And
Yeah,
I say
no.
that as someone that is very hopeful for North America this year. It just, like, we seem to be, like, much more wildly inconsistent than other regions at the moment. And I think that that's what you saw at MSI. You saw, like, the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde of, like, Cloud9, that, like, they are capable. They are also capable. And all it takes is one good day, because they're going to play 3 best of ones on one day when they make that group stage. And, you know, they can go 3-0 on their best day. But unfortunately, you know, it can also go the other way. So I hope it happens, but I just think that the numbers aren't in your favor very much when you make
Froska's in the
something
chat.
like that.
She says she shared that chart on Twitter. I went and looked. It must have been a little bit ago because I wasn't able to find it. But
Well, it's from 2015, I'm sure.
so she's saying she did it in 2015. I thought it was more recent. Like she reshared it. But regardless, shout out to Froska in the chat. You were gonna say something, Blaine?
Yeah, I was just saying, I agree with Spawn's point. Like, it's looking very unlikely, but I'm just saying, it's like I was telling my wife earlier. If they mess up just right and we're playing at a pretty good level, there's a good chance, right? But it's only if that happens.
I'm
I'm
with
with
you.
that.
You know, people act like there's zero chance, and that's exactly what we did in 2018. If people remember,
Exactly. Yeah,
Kelly
we went from play-ins to semis.
Kelly May and I were in here, you know, and we were like, what percent chance is it? And, you know, I'm saying
this.
like 1%. There's like no fucking way. And Kelby goes, literally 0%. We get out of Group B, and then, you know, C9 does it. So
Also, the other thing I'll credit C9 with, just really quickly, sorry to cut you off, Mark, is like I think that was the same year that they had like an insane meta read where they just started playing like Caitlyn, control mage, and like then they'll like even like counterpicking like Viger and stuff, like some places. Like sometimes all it takes is like, especially when you play those 3 best of ones on the same day, you make a good read at the start of the day and like shit hits the fan real quickly in League of Legends. Trust me, as a coach that's got into those best ofs, like if someone picks Viger game 1, you're like, what the hell do I do against this champion? Like, we haven't scrimmed this thing. Like, do we use one of our 3 bans to all of a sudden we have to give perk Silas or, you know, something else? So, yeah, I like the Hopium. I like this take.
I'm hoping it's another year like that, but yeah, I remember that year because, like, Lickers just played weak side and Jensen just, like, and no, Sneaky specifically carried that. But, you know, we don't have any of those players anymore, so we'll see what happens.
Spawn, you said that you like the take. Do you agree with the take at all?
Like I really like the take because like I think Blaine's like shown like his biases and like the fandom side of it by also acknowledging that like some things need to go right. And like I think that what's missing from League of Legends at the moment, Travis, is like people supporting underdogs. Like when did it become more important to be right than to support your teams? Holy shit, support would be so boring if it was more important to be right than like to support your team. So like I like people supporting their teams and going out there and having a say and like hopefully buying a truckload of C9 merch and flying the flag and, you know, getting behind the boys.
As much as I'm a Cloud9 fan, I'm repping for all of NA, Team Liquid. Hope you guys do great in groups. Hope 100 Thieves do too. Let's go.
Frost wants you to check your Twitter DMs, Spawn. I don't know.
I'm in the middle of a show. I'm a professional.
Yeah, well, she's.
I'm on the fantasy subreddit. You're not. You won't even go on Twitter, and I'm a unrelated subreddit.
Why do you need to be on the fantasy subreddit when we've got a caller right here that says that there's a really good chance Cloud9's getting out of Group A? All right, this is not the fantasy you need.
Is like support your teams. You're like fuck them. I'm gonna use them for a joke.
I mean,
NA getting at least 2 teams out of groups this year. Let's go.
I disagree with Spawn on the idea that it's gotten to the point, at least for me, where you have to be right rather than supportive. But I do need to try to get as many little jabs and jokes in as I can on this show. So I'll sacrifice them for those points. Anyway, no, I mean I'm hopeful, and to Mark's point, North America usually does well when we are not, like, this is the counter argument to Spawn. North America does our best when we don't believe in them. So not to say I want you guys to all go out and shit talk them or whatever, but if people are counting C9 out, that's usually, I think, when they shine. So hopefully we'll see something. Blaine, thank you so much for the call. Is there anything you want to shout out before we go on to our next caller?
Nah, I just love the show. Tune in every week. Been on a few times now. Shout out to Alienware and Game Fuel. Good sponsors. Love talking to you guys, and y'all have a good night.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Yep,
Fun.
you too.
Did Frost DM you the picture?
She did. She's DMing me questions. So now
You're just getting interrogated?
Now I'm hella like fucking, I'm doing research while I'm on this show. I'm gonna be distracted the rest of the episode. This is your
my
fault.
God.
Whoops.
Oh, my God. Next lesson learned. I thought she was giving you an asset for the show, and now I realize she's just trying to derail it. All right, Mark is off to grab the next caller. Great sup, LOL. Thank you for the prime. Really appreciate it. We do always appreciate the primes. By the way, the schedule for our shows, I know we've talked about this previously, but all my shows actually run at Rift Reaction and Hotline League. We're all going to have interesting schedules right now because they're going to be popping out during sort of the breaks and stuff. So just stay tuned on Twitter and all these places to see when they're coming out because they won't be during the regularly scheduled time. And
my God, he
Mark
got
just
TC
tried to
again.
pull. This guy might be trolling. I'm not sure.
No, I know. Yeah, I don't think he is. He sounds sincere.
Yeah.
If he is trolling, well then I told him this was going to be his last chance, and I'll just say his take, and we can talk about it.
Sure.
Blitz 470 says Galatasaray esports will finish top of Group B and make it out over Cloud9 and beyond through better macro and team play.
They'll finish. Did you wait? What first in that group?
Yeah, first. They're gonna get out first over Beyond and C9.
Okay.
Well,
Interesting.
that's not how it works, right? Because first plays the other side, and then like the other two like play.
No, if you get first in the group, you're out. You go to
First
group
is
round
auto
next
seed
week.
to main stage.
Oh,
Second.
cool. But it's like, so he means over as in like he will take the Galatasaray will take the free slot. As
Yeah,
opposed to
Yeah. They
first
finish
in the
first
group.
in the
Yeah,
group,
yeah.
and then they're immediately off to
Okay.
groups.
Cool. That makes sense.
Yes.
I mean, I can see the take.
Okay. Wait. So you said you can see the take.
Yeah.
I
I comprehend it. I'm not a dummy.
Okay, great. You understand the concept of the take. I'm just trying
These
to clarify.
words hit Spawn's ear, and he correctly processed the audio.
Yes. Because it sounded like for a second you're like, that sounds reasonable. Do you think it is reasonable, Spawn?
No, of course not.
Okay.
But that's okay.
Well, they are the best ranked team in this group right now. All right.
They are. They're 2-0.
Yes.
Unfortunately, there's another team that only got to play one game. So, like, yes, they are technically a game ahead of the other undefeated team in Cloud9.
Yeah, there's two teams that only got to play one game, but yes.
So
one of those that
I'll try and rep him a little bit before I give my actual take. But
Sure.
what I'll say about them, and I think a lot of people, it sounded like from how we talked about on the broadcast, like kind of underrated them, and I understand it a little bit. In a couple of their series and playoffs, I think it was the semifinals one. They looked really troll. I was watching that series and I was like, oh my God, these guys, they suck. And then I watched the finals and it was a lot cleaner. And I was a lot more impressed after that one. I actually felt pretty good about them. And I think they have a pretty good game plan in a lot of their games and some pretty big playmakers. Zergsting was getting hyped up appropriately. You know, he seems like a really good playmaker. His Bard's nuts, and like if you can take over the game and support, that's huge. Bolulu is really consistent and maybe the best player on the team, you could argue. But then Mojito actually really liked his jungling paths and like it was always trying to advance a game plan. It felt like, whether that be to get like the most important player on his map snowballing, if it was a topside counter pick, or throwing a wrench in the enemy team's game plan. And so like I felt like Mojito was really smart about his pathing and stuff. And Crazy roams a lot. Like he actually is pretty proactive. So like watching them, I can see a world where they are the best. Anyways, that's me putting my best foot forward for them, and they looked really good in their two games. Pretty decisive wins, I guess you'd say.
Spawn,
How'd I do?
Do you want to count? You want to rip into Mark right now? You want to shred his Galatasaray hopium to small pieces?
I mean, the first thing I'll say is that Australians and Turkish people have like a very special spot in their heart for each other. So I hope they do well. In saying that, like, I think Turkey as a region, like the TCL, like whatever you want to call it, they've been like a little bit disappointed lately. So like they're probably due for like a good showing. Like I think that's a fair
Is
thing
that
to
how
say.
that works? Because if so, North America is going to fucking crush it this year, Spod.
It just depends what your like good showing is, right? Because you guys had like that world showing and then like an MSI of knocking down IGE. So like you guys have had some good showings for your standards, like, but now you guys are just in a little bit of a slump. Like we went through a slump for 7 years, Travis. So don't talk to me about Dew. And then like the best we can do was Pentanet making the group stage of something. We couldn't even get like the run of the Albus Nox Luna had. Anyway, regardless, right? So I think they're a good team. Like I think they're genuinely like this is a team where like if you put them in a major region, you gave them some time, you upgraded like some of their infrastructure because I'm sure they've got great infrastructure for a minor region team. But let's be realistic, the teams they're going up against probably have better infrastructure than them. So like I think that there is like they can create upsets. They are good enough on their day to beat any of these teams, but to be able to do it consistently, you need something a little bit more. And I would just say that they're not the betting man's favorite. But that's why I disagree with the take overall, right? Because to come first, like you have to show a level of consistency across multiple days. I personally think Cloud9 will come first in this group, but I could see it happening.
I think I'm with you.
They'll come second or third, like definitely.
Yeah, I think given their first day, they're almost a lock for second already because they took out Beyond, who was probably supposed to be the main other competition. DFM did not look good versus C9. Maybe that was just a bad showing, but that was another team that people were excited about given that they...
Can I say something about the LJL? This narrative that the LJL is slowly ramped up is like the biggest, like, you'll let the weebs hijack the broadcast every now and again too much.
I'm with you, dude. Every time someone tries to hype an LJL team, the first question I ask them is how much anime do you watch?
Yes. Last year, when everyone was hyping up the LJL teams, I remember that I had done a VOD review of them on Twitch, probably on my channel, which is completely unused now, so it was probably the second last one I did. And the whole game, I put the Yakety Sax music on and probably got DMCA'd. Because, like, it was literally, as my old friend Yamato kind of would say, a clown fiesta. It was just an absolute disaster of a game. So, like, I have no faith. The DFM could... Well, they can't lose every game because they've already won a game, so I'm not going to say that. But there is a world where they could still lose every game, even though they've won one.
Blitz in the chat, by the way, typed out their thing. Do you want to say
I read through it. I don't want to backtrack though.
Okay. That's fine.
I'll say for the LJL, I think they had a better showing at MSI. I mean, like a lot of people talk about the win over C9 as like the main talking point, but then they don't remember that C9 slammed them the next time. But there was also the fact that they challenged, was it Damwon that they should have beaten and they just threw at the bot inhib. Like they had a number of games where they looked legitimately good, and I combined to the story that hey, Kazu was a coach playing for them, and now they got their actual support and stuff like that. But then I watched GenG play, and it's like, okay, I get the narrative we're trying to paint here, but like he hits it a lot. Like he's caught out of position a number of times in his domestic league, and then you go international, and again, he's getting caught out of position a lot. And like I feel like when you watch the games, they did not look like hella insane or anything in their own region. So I was definitely, I mean, they lost in the upper bracket and they have a lower bracket and they swept through that. So like they did come back pretty hard, but like a lot of even though they were sweeps, some of those games were actually really close and slow. So like I think DFM got a little overhyped. And to the caller's point,
okay,
I was just gonna say refocusing on C9. They beat DFM. They looked really good. If C9 didn't look so clean, I think I would buy the caller's take a little bit more. That with the upset over Beyond, that Galatasaray is like more likely to get first. But C9,
weird three-way tie, right? Like I think like there is a world where like Beyond beat Cloud9, Cloud9 beat Galatasaray, everyone finishes with one loss in the group, and then we like play it all again and they come third. So like that to me actually sounds like knowing my boys Cloud9 and like knowing how this like group could go. Like I could see like a three-way tie actually. I'm putting my money on it now. Like that to me like seems like the most likely thing that's going to happen in this group.
Well, on that point, I was going to ask you guys, how confident based off of today's game are you that they're going to be consistent? Cloud9 is going to be consistent because at MSI, I remember they'd have really great games and then they'd have really terrible games, and so I'm a little worried that what we saw today was like the really great game, and then one of the two games tomorrow will be embarrassing.
Listen to the other 2 points. Both of the points have hinged on the wildly inconsistent nature of North American esports. Like, I don't think anyone is confident in consistency out of the North American teams. I don't know if the North American teams, like the actual players themselves, are confident in the consistency.
I just meant specifically this Cloud9 this year.
I'll say this to give a little bit to the consistency. I felt like, well, so one, yes, it's only been one game, so of course everything is like grain of salt here. But I didn't feel like they won coin flips to get this win, and I think those are the times where I'm a little bit more concerned. I felt like they just kind of bullied and picked the DFM apart. To that, so like it didn't feel like, oh, they 3v3 Scuttle Crab and got all 3 kills and like then ran away with the game. It was like, to Spawn's point about like the good wave setup from earlier and all this stuff, like it just felt like they were a much better team than DFM the entire way through.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, we're gonna pretend that Blitz right now is thanking Gamefuel and Alienware and talking about how much they love the show and they listen to it every week and they think we're all great and blah blah blah. Thank you so much, Blitz, for coming on the show. Oh, wait, there they are in the chat. Blitz says, shout out to Alienware, Gamefuel, Spawns, Mark Z, yourself, and Twitch chat. Thanks. Okay, thank you, Blitz. Congratulations. Thanks for trying to come on the show. Mark is already grabbing the next caller. Thank you to Lavrai and Blaine for the bits. Very much appreciate it. Any other subbers out there? Any other primers? I guess they stopped calling it Twitch Prime a while ago, but everybody still calls it Prime, Twitch Prime. But if anybody wants to throw a Prime at the channel, it's always appreciated. Mark is grabbing our last caller. No, our next caller, not our last caller.
I need more social interaction before I come on this show, because like this is the first time I've talked to people in like maybe like 3 days, and so I'm just like hella amped to even just talk to anyone.
Why is there so much hella right now? Where are you picking this up, Spawn? Because you said it, and then Mark said it in the last call too. He was talking about.
I'm hella.
I'm feeling very uncomfortable.
I'm hella hydrated right now, bro.
I have no idea where hella came from, but it feels good right now.
It's Sussy Baka that we're all saying hella.
Jesus. All right, Zemelci is here. Zemelci, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Oxford, United Kingdom.
Oxford, United Kingdom. And what time is it in Oxford, United Kingdom right now?
It is 4:22.
It's 4:20. Okay. Well, congratulations. In the morning. So what? Wait, I know you call in frequently. Remind me again why you're always up at these ridiculous hours.
Partly, I have friends on the East Coast, so I end up keeping an East Coast sleep schedule, and partly I'm an academic, so my best work gets done after midnight.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, clearly much after.
Really? That's what we call it these days? Not degenerate? You're an academic. I gotcha. I'm going to say that from now on when people are like, wow, you stay up so late. Why is that? Oh, I'm an academic.
Yeah. Zemelci, what do you want to talk about on the show?
Okay, so my take is that LNG this year are 2020 LGD 2.0 in that they will get out of play-ins and they'll do reasonably safely, partly because of their group, but then they have no hope in actual Worlds groups, despite Ole's best attempts to carry them out.
Okay.
And I have a bit more evidence for this, if you'd like to hear.
Yeah, I mean, you're an academic, so please let us know.
Okay. First off, there are some really fun and weird parallels between LNG and LGD's runs to Worlds. Both made deep runs in LPL playoffs, and I won't bore you with the specifics, but like both basically started as deep as you could get, and then had to do a deep run of best of fives to get in, where in all of those best of fives they were predicted against them, and in all of those best of fives they then somehow clutched it out until it actually mattered and they started losing.
The miracle.
Yeah, effectively. Both of them have a Korean jungler who puts in a decent amount of legwork, but can also just occasionally absolutely run it down. And the main difference is that LNG actually have a decent top laner in Ale, as opposed to Longjing, who was good but not great. And I think the thing with LNG is that Group A is has the clear strengths in LNG and Hanwha, but otherwise, LNG should safely secure it out. And they might throw a game or two because it's best of ones, but even if they take it to best of 5, they should get out comfortably. The same way that LGD kind of ran it down in best of ones in 2020, but then the moment best of 5s rolled around, they pulled it together and got out. But then, if they actually make it to the main group, they'll, assuming that I'm not off my face, be in the group with GenG, Mad, and Team Liquid. And LGD, we're actually in a group with GenG, Fnatic, and I can't remember who the fourth one.
TSM.
Oh, TSM.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully Team Liquid will do better than 0-6, but regardless, LGD didn't make it out of that group. And I see it that, like, ultimately, LNG can't overcome their overall issues, and they'll just get beaten out by GenG and Fnatic when it comes down to it, because they're good enough to get out of play-ins, but not good to get further.
How badly do you think they're going to do in groups?
I mean, I don't think they'll go 0-6, but I think they'll get, like, I don't think they'll do any better than, 1 or 2 games, probably.
Gotcha. Okay.
Much
So
like
you're probably
you,
placing them last in that group.
I mean, ultimately, it's best of ones. It's always, like, a tiny bit coin flippy.
Yeah.
But I don't see them, like, they could take, like, a game off Team Liquid, probably maybe 2 games off Team Liquid, but, like, I don't know, I don't see them getting out.
All right. We've been starting with Spawn a lot, so let's throw it to Mark.
Mm.
Oh, okay. So there are parts of this call that I like. I think there's some parallels that you're calling out that are cool. I think the group that they're going to end up in being a similarly, I would say, quote unquote, open group. Like there's definitely favorites and stuff, but I can see them slotting in there and doing all right. But I think it's pretty disingenuous to call them this year's LGD. I thought LGD was like pretty shit. I shouldn't say shit. They were like they're a good team, but they had clear problems, like you're saying, and like even Peanut, while good and like coin flippy, he's way worse and more coin flippy than Tarzan. Tarzan is still legitimately one of the best junglers in the world. And like if you look at a lot of people's lists, like he's going to be one of the highest rated junglers, like him and Canyon. And so like I definitely don't agree on that point that you're right that like both teams had junglers that they kind of live or die by, but I feel like the difference was like they died by Peanut sometimes, and like even when Tarzan doesn't play his best, like I don't know, I think he's really good. And I think they actually play better as a team than LGD ever did. LNG, carry top, Icon is really flexible. I think his roams and coordination with Tarzan and getting top lane are good. And I actually like Light. Like I don't think he's insane or anything, but him and Iwandi I think make good plays. He's flexible, he can play Vayne, he can play Ziggs. Like I actually am pretty hot on LNG. Like I don't think it's unreasonable that they get out first here. They don't really get tested. They go into Group D and they're just better than GenG. Like LNG as a 4th seed from the LPL can contest the LCK 3 seed in GenG right now. Like I feel that pretty safely. Maybe I'll be wrong, but like I think that's actually a really close matchup.
Not to mention, one of the things about this year is also that the meta is really good for carry junglers. So, like, if you have a carry jungler in mid, I think you can brute force a lot of shit. Spawn, how about you?
Who did you steal that from in Twitch chat, Travis? I saw it written, but I didn't see it. And also, Tarzan doesn't even play, like, he plays some carry junglers. He also plays Zac.
Well, sounds like you have somebody in your DMs that you should be taking that up with if you disagree with that take. Go ahead,
okay.
Spod.
I could just listen to you talk all day. That's why I asked how much League of Legends you watch. Because like I think, and don't take this the wrong way, I think like on the surface, a lot of like kind of what Mark said is like on the surface, a lot of what you said makes sense, and like I think that there are like logical conclusions that you could take from it. But I do think like if you dig a little bit deeper and look at the depth of the LPL this year, like I think that they've sent like really good teams. So like whereas last year I thought they kind of sent like two and two, like 2 really good teams. One team that turned out to be really good, but at the time I like wouldn't have said they were really good, and then like one team I was pretty confident like wasn't that great. But like this year I think they sent 4 pretty good teams. So like I'm hopium, but like at the same time like you just convinced me, man. Maybe Team Liquid does get out of this group. When I was looking at it on paper, it was seeming a little bit tough, but now that I've listened to your beautiful British accent, I could see Mad 6-0 and then 4-2 Team Liquid, and we get out afterwards. I like that.
What? Okay, if you're going in on the
More
Teal
too.
hype train, shove LEC down, because if you're already doing that, you might as well.
Oh no, like, so the one thing I will say as a coach, and anyone that has been in this position this year as like a coach, at a certain point you have to start giving Mad credit, because like, I don't want to say 100% of my playbook was plagiarized off Mad, but you know, they added a couple of chapters single-handedly in
Well,
this team.
wasn't that
This
what
is
100
you
Thieves
and
said as
Freeze.
well, where the 100
North
Thieves like
American
turned on in
coaches-
playoffs because they
North
just started
American
saying,
coaches are all just copy pasting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But like the thing is like imitation is the greatest form of flattery, right? Like, and like I am making like my references known of what I've been used, and I would say EDG and Mad were the teams that I watched the most this year, and I was like, wow, like they're doing some cool stuff on Summoner's Rift that like I think young players should be watching, and is not easily replicatable because like that would undersell what they're doing, but like with enough practice and discipline, and like with changing how you think about the game from being like 3-lane to 2-lane, like there's some good stuff that those teams do. So like I think that Mad's a very good team.
And what you just said about imitation being the highest form of flattery, I completely agree, which is why I would say that, you know, the simplest thing is that Mad has the 5th best ELO rating, so they should be legit. Okay, Zemelci, what do you have to say for any of this stuff?
I mean, I agree with a lot of what was said, especially I do think that, like, whilst I find the parallels between the two interesting, but I do think that pound for pound, LNG is a slightly stronger team than LGD on paper, but I do think that they do suffer from similar issues, and like, I watched those Zac games. I watched him get invaded and die repeatedly. I do think that, like, LNG, just as capable as they are of being brilliant, and just in their face off. And, like, I guess that's, yeah, like, the major thing is they're too unpredictable, and they're too capable of running it down for me to put any stock in them. Also, I don't have Team Liquid making it out of the group. That's like mad GenG. Before
Travis,
anyone
throw
accuses
him
me of
out.
being on NA Hopium.
Well, Zemelci, thank you so much for the call. Anything you want to shout out?
Shout out Alienware and Game Fuel for sponsoring the show, Rift Reaction, and also shout out to Penguin and Dagda on the cast today. I'm so glad that we're actually getting to see LPL like on broadcast. These guys, like, they've been grinding it for so long. I hope we get to see more in future. I'd love to see like Munchables and people on as well, and I hope that like the people like that we get, you know, the bigger regions and like fans from bigger regions pushing for like LPL, and even like, you know, minor regions like Nymera on MSI broadcast, more stuff like that. I just, smaller region casters, they're like, everyone's got to start somewhere, and they're goated, and I hope we see more of that.
Well, again, thank you so much for the call, and we'll catch you next time.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right. Mark is off to go grab another caller. Wow. Just, yeah, something really loud just dropped in my neighborhood. Beef Stews, thank you for the 10 months. Really appreciate it. And Jojo Victor, I believe I hadn't shouted them out, but thank you. Thank you to everybody who's subbing. Jules 3000 is here. Jules, where are you calling from?
Hey, I'm calling from San Francisco.
San Francisco. What do you want to talk about on the show?
Yeah, so today I want to say that LEC is a stronger region than LCK. I'm saying this as an NA fan, so not like, you know, from AU or anything. I was really hella excited about C9 winning today, but I still think LEC is the second best region.
Okay. LEC, second best region. We're going to ignore the hella. And, yeah, you said LCK the third. Yeah, it feels like this has been, there's some battle going on. There's a lot of people trying to shove LCK down in the standings lately. Didn't we have a caller last week that said that North America might be better than LCK? There's so much anti-LCK. Yeah, I mean, Spawn, it's Hotline League. You're going to get a lot of stuff. It's interesting to see this. Okay, why do you think this?
So I think for the most part, LCK is dominated by Damwon. The teams outside of Damwon are not that great. One of the things that LCK has been doing poorly this year is building teams and rosters. If you look at the top teams, they all have like 1-star player or 2-star players who are really like, top of their role. But then the rest of the team is like a 7th best person in the role. So for example, if you look at Hanwha Life, they have Morgan in the top lane who's very weak. And, with the top lane focus meta that I think Worlds is going to be, they're going to struggle quite a decent bit. And then for the most part too, LCK in general is very slow and not too proactive. They do a lot of handshakes. They don't contest aggressively like LEC has done this year. And so I just think LEC is a very proactive region. They're always contesting a lot of things. Fnatic and Mad Lions are both really strong mental, have strong mental. So even when they're losing, they pull off some crazy plays. In playoffs, we saw Fnatic kind of popping off where they get picked off and it looks like the game might be over. And then you see a double TP play going to the bot lane. And then they get something out of nothing that I couldn't actually see myself being a possibility. So they really surprised me. And then the last thing I'll say before we kind of keep discussing more is that G2 not going to Worlds isn't necessarily a failure on G2. I think it's a reflection of the region as a whole getting really good. A lot of players have stepped up. A lot of teams have been built really well with players that actually have synergy and cohesion. And G2, not making it is because LEC has been leveling up the last couple of years.
All right. A lot of LEC hope. And by the way, I'll just say, knowing that we have way more LEC fans than LCK fans that watch this show, I completely agree with you. LEC, the best. Okay. Mark, what do you think?
What?
LEC are they better than LCK?
I was listening. I was kidding. I think it's possible. I'm not sure how I feel about it yet. I think obviously Damwon's good. I think D1 pretty good as well. Mad Lions is good. I think when you start going down the lineup, it might feel like the depth is better in Europe, but I'm not sure that's really true. With I don't really like Hanwha. I'm kind of a Hanwha hater, but that doesn't reflect on the top three.
Yeah, they're at their 4th seed. I was going to point that out. It's it's kind of weird because we got 4 teams versus 3.
Right. So I'm watching the 4th seed that I didn't think was that good get in, and that team was a team that was struggling domestically too. Hanwha did not look great a lot of the time, so it's not a surprise to me. And then I haven't seen Europe play internationally yet for this tournament, so it's just a loaded question, I guess is what I'm saying right now. Or I would probably put LCK over LEC still, but it's pretty close. But I feel like this is basically the worst possible starting data point to defend the LCK over the LEC. I guess actually, here's the better point. Mad Lions from last year didn't even get out of groups or get out of play-ins, So if LCK is better than that, that's a good start. I don't know. We don't see a European team for a week. It's just so hard. But doing my prep, I don't think there's much of a gap, and I would say the top end of the LCK is better.
Okay, so it sounds like you think they're close, but LCK kind of edges them out.
So you think Damwon's better than Mad, is what you're saying, but everyone else is close.
To the caller's point, I think Damwon does run the LCK a little bit, but I don't think it's oh well, then they're just shitters after that. That T1 couldn't take Mad or something.
Yeah, I think T1's pretty good, but I think Fnatic can win in a BO5, and then after T1, I think it falls off a little bit more too. I don't think GenG is very good. They only win games if they make it to the mid game, and then they kind of win with better macro. But I think a team like Rogue or Fnatic could be better than GenG. And so Hanwha, we didn't have to talk about them. If you compare those 3 teams, I think you have Damwon, Mad, Fnatic, and T1, and GenG/Rogue.
Okay. So there's parity, right? I think what you and Mark are saying is you're pretty much on the edge of the same coin right now. I'll do a little bit better job of tipping it. As a fan, you generally tend to remember the best moments of the teams that you're saying could be better, and then you're bringing in some worse points. And I think Mark slightly did this because to just elaborate a little bit more, Fnatic's run going into playoffs was bloody spectacular. But before that run happened, like there were a lot of people out there that were confident G2 was going to be like representing Europe at Worlds, right? And in a similar way, Rogue's failure in playoffs was pretty spectacular, and there were a lot of people that thought that Rogue was the only team that could contest Mad, right? And GenG's like failure towards the end of the season, I think, has a lot of parallels towards Rogue's failure towards the end of the season, because GenG midway through the season looked like a really bloody good roster. And then I think SKT is kind of like Fnatic in this, where like they shot up, like, you know, they had coaching staff changes, roster changes, like they did the whole kit and caboodle, and then were able to run the back end of the split under like some pretty linear game plans, and they were able to do well. One thing I will say is like I really like Mad and Damwon. I think like everyone agrees they're just like two of the top 4 or 5 best teams in the world at the moment, so they're really cool to watch. But Fnatic for me, ooh, when they play really good, talk about a floor and a ceiling team. Like their ceiling is like so exciting. And I think I said it last Worlds. Any team that has Whippo and Hylissang on it could win against anyone, because those guys are just insane. So like I like the take, because like I would personally say that the LEC is much more entertaining to watch this year than LCK. And as a fan of League of Legends, I hope that the regions like the LPL and LEC that play a lot more like risk heavy, like proactive, push the game forward favor, I hope that they prove to be the best regions in the world, so that other regions have to follow suit and we can stop getting slow games. Because like slow games have like really been the bane of my existence in League for like the last 4 years, and I think we're finally getting through. Like the light is at the end of the tunnel. I can see it. The LPL's had like a couple of years of dominance now. Like LEC playing a really quick style is like right there behind them. So I hope that the LCK gets dethroned and this shitty slow style gets thrown out the window, because like Damwon plays quickly, they're a great team, and then all the other best teams in the world play quickly, and then you kind of got SKT and GenG kind of still playing a little bit slower and being good, and I want all the slow teams to lose.
Well, I kind of feel like that's what you're talking about. It does kind of feel like the fan meta shifted, where for a long time everybody was like, wow, if you're not watching LCK, what the fuck are you doing? Like, it's the best. Like, that's the cool thing to watch. And now it's shifted to actually LCK's resident sleeper. You got to go watch LPL, and by the way, LEC is doing a good job of speeding up as well. So I do feel like the world is turning on LCK, because the impression now is that the LCK is boring. At least that's what a lot of people seem to think. So I don't know. Jules, what do you think of all this?
Yeah, I would agree with Spawn's point that Fnatic with Whippo and Hylissang can kind of do some magical things in some games. It's, when you think they're out, they just pull off something pretty insane. Yeah, but I think the main thing to look out for is the rosters of the LCK teams. Like I feel like they're just a little lopsided, while LEC teams have better all around players in my opinion. Gotcha.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll see in about a week or so how your take plays out. Thanks so much for the call. Anything you want to shout out before we take a quick break?
Well, shout out to you guys. Thanks for letting people come on to a show like this. It's pretty cool to be able to talk to analysts and people in this space on a live call show. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Have a good one.
All right, bye bye.
All right.
We'll need to do a combined win rate in the groups to see which region
of the top 3 of each.
4?
You want to include Hanwha?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, well, I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Anyway, we're going to take a quick break to talk about Game Fuel. I am officially out. They're going to restock me, but I'm officially out of...
I'm tapped too.
Yeah, spawn hiding. Sponsor conflicts sending this man into hiding. Game Fuel right now is who we're talking about. Gamefuel.com/Travis. Go check them out. I'm out. I need to throw this away because it's a can from 2 days ago. But Game Fuel Courageous Sherbet. They are now sold out of Game Fuel Courageous Sherbet unless you are interested in the zero version of it. The 0 calorie version, which is Mark's favorite of the flavors. 0 sugar. Courageous Sherbet Zero is available still right now. So if you want to try the flavor, go grab it right now. And you have a chance to win some swag as well. So kind of some cool stuff that they're doing over there. But as I've mentioned on previous episodes, it's a limited time. So this is your Your last chance before it's gone for good, to quote the banner up at the top of their site. You can use code Travis, by the way, which is very helpful. Very, very helpful. This is a year-long deal. And just for context, people, this is normally the time of year where you start to talk about next year and people using my... So all I'm saying is, look, if you're gonna buy some, please go to gamefield.com/Travis and then use code Travis when you check out so that they know that even if you're buying Courageous Sherbet, it's not because of courage, it's because of Travis, all right? That's what we need. And Mark, I guess. And whoever else is part of this whole thing. Anyway, thank you so much for sponsoring the show, Game Fuel. Mountain Dew Game Fuel. Not to be confused. I sometimes see people say something, a different type of fuel. All right? This is Game Fuel. 2 words, Game Fuel, not something else. It's Mountain Dew Game Fuel. Yes, you can give it through Amazon if you check the link in the description on YouTube to answer the question that's in the chat, King. Mark is grabbing the next caller. Yeah, I just put the link in the chat. If for some reason you can't get it through the website, you can use that Amazon link. Thank you, King of Almashu, for the Prime. Really appreciate it. Baal is here. Baal, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
Toronto, Ontario, Canada. What do you want to talk about on the show?
All right, so my hot take is going to be that RNG, GenG, Hanwha Life, and LNG, and maybe EDG, but I'm not going to include them in this take, are all going to crash and burn this year. And this year's Worlds will look a lot like 2018, and it'll be the best results that the West will have, like as a whole. Maybe not a team in the finals, but as a whole, this will be the best year the West will have, with 3 out of 4 of Team Liquid, Fnatic, Mad, and 100 Thieves making it out of groups and possibly semis. Also, PSG will make it out.
What was it? You said possibly what? Possibly
PSG.
semis?
Possibly semis, yeah.
And what did you say about PSG?
I think PSG will make it out as well.
Takes like this are the ones where people just read the timestamp on the YouTube video and then rush to the comments and go, I used to be able to watch this show. But you know what? I appreciate it.
Let me hit you with this. So there's a lot of specifics in here, and we can easily get bogged down in the weeds about, well, maybe this team, but not this one of the people on that list. What about the trends of the current like world's meta that you're seeing that makes you think that, like, you know, it's like spotting a housing bubble a little bit, you know? You're like, how do you spot a bubble, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
what are the
you spotting
systemic
this?
things that are telling you that people are all, like, everyone is reading it wrong?
Sorry, reading what wrong? The meta?
No, reading
No,
like the expectations, the analysis, the predictions for these teams.
Oh, so I actually pulled out some stats from from all the regions, except for the LCS. LCS is all faith, baby. So
Okay.
for the LPL stats, I think that RNG and LNG are 2 of the, you could say, the ugly sheep of the 4 teams they sent. They both have really low gold differential for the teams during playoffs. They have the longest game times out of all the teams, which is actually pretty long for the LPL because the LPL is usually a very fast-paced team. But both those teams, especially I think RNG, have longer game times than any other team that I listed from North America and Europe. And I think that RNG is a very team fight-centric team, but the meta seems to be shifting towards more solo lane-oriented picks, such as Aurelia, Lucian, Tryndamere, stuff like that. And the LNG is a very Tarzan-focused show. So if Tarzan doesn't pop off, I don't think LNG will make it far. And I don't think that he'll be able to do it in the group that he's in, because I think the junglers there are all very good. And that RNG has pretty flexible team comps, but they aren't flexible in how they play to win, which is usually that they wait for the enemy to show a weakness and then they pounce. For the LCK, I think Hanwha Life is just really not a great team. They didn't make it playoffs. They ran the gauntlet, and it reminds me a lot of 2018 GenG, who did really shit in summer season. Then they ran the gauntlet, and then they got smashed by both Vitality and C9. So I think they're a lot like that GenG. And then Hanwha is basically the Chovy show, and same thing I said for Tarzan will apply here. GenG is just a very slow team in general, and their solo laners, not Clid, BDD and Rascal, while I think they're good, I don't think they'll be able to match up to the better solo laners that are in their group. And they play super slow. They have the fourth GPM out of 6, GDM, the longest game time. They have the lowest kills. They have the lowest dragon count per game. And yeah, and so for the LEC, my reason for hyping them up is that Madden
Okay.
Fnatic are fucking psychopaths.
Go pretty quick on
Sorry.
the LEC stuff, just because we're
Yeah, I was looking
psychopaths.
for a big picture, and you went team by team.
Sorry, they're fucking psychopaths. They have unbreakable mental, and they absolutely smash the early game. So and they're flexible. So that's my thing for the LEC. And for the LCS, it's all faith, baby. I just think they'll perform.
Okay. Hard to give statistics for Faith.
Really?
All right. So
If you do a double blind trial, you can.
Spawn, what are your, again, without going team by team, but the general statements that he was making about the LCK and LPL teams. I don't know if you have strong opinions.
I put all the stats into the chat if you want to see.
Yeah, no, that's cool. It's hard to use stats when the teams don't play against each other, to be honest, because obviously you have to weight the stats. So that's why stats are a great point to start a conversation, but definitely are not the be all and end all of the conversation. What I think is that this is a hot take, and if it happens, people will play this back and worship the caller as a messiah. Because that is genuinely Jesus re-emerging and shepherding us to our salvation versus the LPL and LCKs all crashing and burning out at the same time. I would give equal weight to at the moment. So yeah, that's what I have, Travis.
Okay, sure. Spawn, you don't even want to dive in on it. It sounds like you just think that the reasoning. It's too much to look at the stats themselves. You feel like the teams are good enough that you don't have to really worry about it too much.
As other esports and sports people will say, is at a certain point they got to pass the eyeball test. My eyeball test tells me something very differently. Once again, I think this call is based a lot on faith, so I'd rather use my analogies than get into the weeds of a faith-based argument.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of people who get that, who use stats from one region against the other. The most you can do with stats is within their own region, are these players good or not, how is the team playing? Jungle proximity might tell you that they like playing around top lane, but that doesn't mean that they're top 2v2. Maybe they have insane KDA.
Yeah,
and they have CSD numbers and first blood kills and participation. And you can use that to say this team wants to play through top, but just because those numbers are bigger than the team that they're going to be playing against doesn't mean they're actually better than that team. Because guess what? Yeah, you might snowball top really hard, but you're playing against.
J.R. Smith averaged 56 points a game playing in China last year. He not even getting a minute on an NBA team. So
thank you, sir, for the better than me rambling on about it. So yeah, I think the stats thing is a bit tricky. I will say, maybe this is a watershed moment, kind of like how 2018 was, but it's feeling a little hard for me to buy into, because I'm not quite sure where you think it's going. Because for 2018, it was okay, LCK's been on top for so long. They've played this really slow style. A bunch of changes in the game had taken place to kind of push it away from that, with vision control changes and all this stuff. And it was the moment where it flipped from being an LCK, macro-oriented, slow game dominated world meta to something different. And LCK got punished and exposed, and some of their teams weren't quite as good in general that year. And, that's kind of what happened in 2018. I just don't see what that is this year that is making it comparable.
Well, there are a couple of things, right? So what I would say is maybe double enchanter bottom lane is really great, and we think that potentially North America is good at that, or maybe we think there's something going on in the macro game that we think the LEC is doing that the LPL and LCK will be stubborn. Because one thing I will say is if you get a jump on the meta against the Eastern teams, they can be a little bit stubborn, right? You beat them. You have to beat them a couple of ways with something before they really buy into how they want to change the game. So I kind of agree with you, Mike. Unless there's something fundamentally different about how the teams are playing the game, then I think that if you play the same game against some of these players, they're just better players than you. So you have to be able to have that jump. A lot of it last year, if you'll remember, a lot of the upsets were generated by Lilia and level 1 tomfoolery. So if like something like that happens, like I could see some upsets coming through for sure. But I think stats aren't the way you look for that. It's like more like gameplay, meta read. Like, are we going to have another Ardent Sensor that comes through halfway through a tournament? Is there a pick that we're not seeing? Like, you know, I've been watching a lot of Tracking the Pro. Master Yi seems to do well in a lot of games. I haven't seen anyone play Master Yi yet. Maybe Master Yi's broken. Maybe an NA team's about to bust out some Master Yi and run over people. But like, unless there's something like that, I find it hard to like have the same.
Baal, thank you so much for the call. I don't have too much time to give you for the rebuttal, just because we have to move on to our last caller after this. But I want to give you a chance to shout out anything you'd like at the end.
I like to shout out Travis Gafford's book channel, which is now very dead. Really sad. It actually convinced me to buy the entire Stormlit Archive series. Read through it. Great series. And also The Name of the Wind. That was a good book that you recommended as well.
Yes.
So if you ever revive that channel, I'll be...
It's revived. I just posted something to it last week.
Oh, I guess you've been offline so long it didn't pop up in my recommended.
Yes, I know. It took a bit, but we're back. Hit the bell icon. It'll help. Anyway, thank you, Baal, for the call, and I do appreciate the shout out to the book channel.
Shout out Baal dodging me on her banner, that piece of shit. Giving me 2 genes.
Genshin.
Not both on the same banner.
You got 2 genes. You didn't have Gene before, did you?
No, I didn't. I lost a 50-50 on the limited banner and got her over Baal, and then I was doing my Entwined Fates, and I got Acquaint. I don't fucking know. And then I got Gene again. Fucking goddamn it.
Gene is my girl. Welcome to the Gene Club.
All right,
I want to get a Name of the Wind tattoo, Travis.
Really? What do you want to get?
Yeah. So like obviously I've got my Akali right on this arm. This is my arm. So this is the arm for like my family. So I've got my fox and my angel. I don't know if the chat's actually seen my angel. For my little boy Henry, who's about to turn 1. And then this arm is dedicated to the things I love. Do you want me to take my top off? I'll take my top off. Give me a second.
There we go. We're watching Spawn undress live on the show.
That's my angel. So my little boy's middle name is Michael, so that's the Archangel Michael. Then I've got Fox, obviously, for Jasper Fox, and then I've got my Akali. So this is the arm for stuff I love, and Name of the Wind I think is my favorite book ever, Travis. So I think I want to get a Name of the Wind tattoo, probably.
Do you know what the tattoo is? You
should get the rings. You know how like people with naming make shit out of their rings or something? You should of like what they get mastery over. You should use something like that.
That's actually pretty cool. I like that idea. You know how you had the Ring of Air and stuff like that. I was maybe thinking about getting like a really despondent bartender tattooed on me. Like I think that would be like hella funny.
People would not get it.
I feel like it's tough to pick a tattoo from a series that's not ended though, right? Because like, what if it turns out that something you pick later on becomes something else or changes its meaning or something?
That's true. Yeah, but if I wait for him to finish the series,
then you're gonna die.
Yeah, that's my point. Is like
my skin might just tear under the needle.
Yeah. Just get Patrick Rothfuss, but it's like a skull or something, because it's to resemble the fact that he will die before the series finishes. Invictus is here. Invictus, where are you calling from?
Yo, I'm calling from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm turning you up a little bit. What do you want to talk about on the show?
I was pulled because I'm a Tryndamere enjoyer, and I got the feeling that Mark is not a Tryndamere enjoyer. So, yeah.
Okay.
So I'll just elaborate a little bit. I think that Tryndamere is an amazing pick to watch. There's very few champs that can stay at 1 HP for 5 seconds while they're trying to stay alive. Also, when it's picked in the context that HLE picked it, it's really sad to watch. I mean, watching Chovy try and play that was kind of sad. I mean, you can't get onto Kiana, can't do anything against Jax. I don't know. I think that the champion adds a lot to where it's a problem that the opposing team is trying to solve, right? And yeah, I just think it's really fascinating to watch. It's very different from any other champ. So yeah.
All right. I'll let Spawn mediate this this battle between Mark and the caller. But Mark, what is Tryndamere a good champion and fun to watch and great?
So I'll say that the game that just played in the mid to late game, to the caller's point about it's fun watching this no HP guy try and make something happen. People deal with him. Okay, that part can be fun. The first, he removes 30% of a third of the lanes from the map to even talk about in the early game. I don't want to cast this piece of shit triple reju B, do nothing in lane, heal up, champ. I'm gonna have to cast him in a couple hours maybe. I don't want to cast that. There's nothing to say about the laning phase.
Is that true? Because we got to see Gragas mid, right? And like, what are they going to bring out next? Like, are we going to see Malphite mid? Are we going to see Jax mid? Is there a mage that can deal with it?
It's all mid to late game counters, though. You just sit, you in the lane. You just chunk him as much as you can, and then
I got a couple of lane counters. I can't say them on the show because obviously competitive stuff. But if you want to share yours,
if someone wants to actually get a kill lane against him, I'm glad. But Malphite and the things you just listed are not it for me, man.
Okay,
you can gank him, I guess, but
what about playing Draven solo lane?
All right, then I'm hyped about Draven solo lane though, not Tryndamere.
Oh, okay, well Draven you can play into Tryndamere solo lane.
Gnar, you can counterpick Gnar with a lot of really cool shit that has kill pressure on him. That doesn't make Gnar that fun to watch. It makes the counters cool to watch.
Does it not? When Gnar versus Yasuo was a matchup,
yeah, Yasuo was fun as fuck to watch.
Yeah. Look, from a viewer's perspective, Yasuo carries that lane in the early game, and then in the late game, you get to see Gnar 5-man ultis. It's just poggers all around, Mark. I don't know.
I will have to. There's nothing I'm gonna try and see what I have to say about this lane, other than Tryndamere is autoing the minions, and he gets chunked out there from the skill shot, and then he backs off the wave after pushing it, and he presses the heal, and he lets the reju beads tick, and all right, great. Anyways, let's go look at top lane. I hope that these counters that Spawn's cooking up in his little noggin show up, because if I have to do the Gragas one, I'm gonna lose my fucking mind.
Yeah, I do see that. I mean, I am a little biased. I'm bad at the game, but I'm a top laner. I have played Tryndamere in the past, but
No, I like it. So I think the best thing that Riot did for this game was flatten pro picks. And what I mean by that, right? This actually kills so many games. And I have a rudimentary knowledge of a lot of other games, but I've dabbled in a lot of different games, right? And right now in Path of Exile, if you want to play the game to a certain level, you have to play Spectral Shield, Throw Gladiator, or you need to play Forbidden Riot Totems, or back in the day when you were playing World of Warcraft, you needed at least to have a Rogue and a Warlock in your party to do damage over time. I think that video games, when they become linear in what is meta, become incredibly stale and boring. I hate a solved game. The best thing that Riot did to League of Legends this year was they unsolved the game by flattening out picks. Things like Udyr became good. Now Tryndamere is becoming good. And just in the same way that I think there are some numbers champions, and I think this would be Mark's argument, because I think I know Mark pretty well, is numbers champions being in the meta become not fun, because then there is no counterplay to numbers, and then at a certain point the numbers need to be taken back down. And when champions like Tryndamere and Udyr are strong, they're actually just number champions. There's not much skill expression in those two picks specifically. It would be if Garen was strong in the top lane. Everyone would hate it, because he either 100s to 0s you or he doesn't. I think that I can see both ends to this one, but I'm a little bit more on the side of let the wildness flow.
I have a poll up right now, and when Mark was talking and saying it sucks, yes was winning, and then when Spawn started talking and saying that that it is good, no started taking the lead. So Twitch chat clearly just not agreeing with any of your arguments.
Wait, I'm actually curious for Spawn. Would you consider Dr. Mundo just a numbers champ?
Yeah. So Mundo is the quintessential numbers champ tank. There are some tanks that have really good skill expression. Personally, my favorite of all time was Maokai. I think that Maokai fulfills the role of a tank, but is actually incredibly enjoyable to watch. Has an untarget ability, has a knockback, has a really great ultimate, and then how you can use saplings to manipulate your wave is also really great. So I would say Maokai is a interactive champion. He can play well, you can play well. Mundo, Alistar to a certain extent, Garen, Rammus, Tryndamere, these picks, they're when their numbers are high, they get played. It's like Malzahar. When Malzahar's numbers are high, you have people like Crown winning World Championships. No, I don't mean that, because I love that tape. But like, you get what I mean, right? Like, it's like, when Malzahar's numbers are that high that it pushes like LeBlanc and these champions out of the meta, then it becomes like not fun. So like maybe Trind's at that point. I hope he's not. I hope that his numbers are at a point where he's playable, and then there are good counter picks against it, and we get to see the good counter picks. I would gamble on the counter picks.
So I'll grant you the point that like a champion can make the game more interesting by being obnoxious, and you have to deal with it somehow with these interesting counter picks. So that is true that it is the champion who's forcing that stuff to happen. I think I'm also biased in that I'm gonna have to like cast games with Tryndamere in them, and it's just like I probably wouldn't have fun.
The early game.
Yeah, like I just lose a lane to talk about. I'm like, all right, fucking mid lane, let's go. So I also did see though in the post game Reddit thread that a lot of people were anti Tryndamere. So I was surprised to see the Twitch chat actually, even though no still won, pretty even.
I mean, I think as much as I teased, I do think Spawn coming out on the other side, I think helped push the other side of the argument. Invictus, I'm gonna do something for you right now. I am going to award you, if I can find the button. Where is it? Where's the button? I can't find the button. Did I accidentally delete the button at some point in time? Oh no, here we go.
That's what she's.
I'm going to award you the Game Field Victory Caller tonight because I like that you came on and you knew that Mark was going to be opposing this and you wanted to argue it anyway. And you also admitted that you're not a great player. And also some people in Twitch chat said that you should get it. So I wanted to award you that. Congratulations. We're going to send you a case of Mountain Dew Game Fuel. What do you want to shout out, if anything?
Wow! This is amazing. Thank you so much. Shout outs. Shout out to Inero's beard. That thing's a beast. Shout out to Kibler, who I saw in chat before. Hearthstone was like my first game, and Kibler, I used to watch him all the time. So shout out to him. So shout out to Mountain Dew Game Fuel and Alienware. Good stuff.
Cool. I sent you a friend request on Discord if you want to accept it.
Oh yeah, I got it. Yeah,
info on how to do that later. Thank you so much for the call.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah.
I like the random Kibler shout out. That's cool.
Yes.
People should shout out more random people.
Yeah.
That influence them.
Shout out to Brandon Sanderson for.
All right, but not us. We do it literally every week.
Shout out to
David Fincher.
Shout out to Gene from Genshin Impact. All right.
Shout out to Miyazaki from FromSoft.
Mark, what do you want to? What
Ghibli.
do you actually want to shout out? Are you allowed to say which games tonight you're casting?
Yeah, I already did. Or maybe I put it in Twitch chat. I forget. But I'm casting the second set of games, so NA fans can wake up and hear my dumbass rambling about Tryndamere mid and 13 pot Katarina or Mordekaiser.
Do you get both C9 games?
Yeah, because it's broken up into
do.
Group A in the first half, Group B in the second half.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So I will take the time that Tryndamere gives me in lane phase to tell old league stories about other cancerous mid lane regen champs through the first buy.
Well, I wouldn't use that phrasing on the broadcast.
True. Yeah, I won't. I'll be smart about that. Degenerative gaming.
No, academic gaming.
Chronically ill gaming.
Maybe you just don't talk about any kind of sickness or health issues or anything whatsoever. How about that?
Corrosive champions.
Toxic, I think, works. You can say toxic. That's allowed. Anything else you want to say?
No.
That's it.
I shouted out Made already. That was a really good show. I'd recommend Made to a lot of people. It's based off a real book, too. So, I don't know. Gives you a nice...
As opposed to those fake books that they keep making shows up.
I meant like it's not a fiction. It's a fictional book. It's like an autobiographical. Holy shit! Yeah.
He's getting all the bad speaking out of the way now, so that whenever he hits the rift later,
I gotta sleep again to recharge my words.
Yeah, exactly. Spawn, what do you got for us?
This one might be a little bit longer. Shout out to like Academy this year. So like. Obviously, I'm the academy coach for Team Liquid, right? So like that shouldn't be any surprise. But I think like this year was like the first year where the academy product like had like we played 36 regular season games and then like a playoff series, like a bunch of playoff series, and then into Proving Grounds. And I think like for the fans that watched it, like Academy got like heaps better, and I think became like way more enjoyable for a lot of people to watch. I think obviously my team, we won Academy, then came second in Proving Grounds with a couple of subs. Shout out to Grayson or Golden Glue, who came third in Academy and then won Proving Grounds.
We
with
had
2 subs.
him last week and you this week. I completely forgot about this. Yeah,
I think he did a really great job. Shout out to the Golden Guardians guys. They caught so many strays in Split 1. Had their whole coaching debacle as well. And then they were able to turn around and come third within Proving Grounds. And I just think overall, like, it was such a fun tournament. And like, I hope that fans that like are true fans of North America, like, will start like engaging with it. Like, I think Tactical last year, Danny this year, people like Saligo going up and down, like actually make it like a really compelling product. And I think that there is like really good players that are coming out of there and will continue to come out of there. Like, credit to Tenacity. I think he was like top 4 on EU West at a certain point. I think he's fallen a little bit. Hopefully he climbs back up. Mayo's over there, grinding his butt off. Jenkins is over there. Kenvy's over there. I think EG sent a lot of their players over there. So yeah, shout out to the system, and hopefully more people. Like, I hope people that watched it did enjoy it, and that we bring more people in to enjoy it next year, because I think it was really great.
Very good. Mark, I'm going to do that thing that we do sometimes, which is we shouldn't be doing on the broadcast or on the show, but when do we want to do the show? Because we get some in trying to book people, it was very difficult, and Shox was even publicly shaming me on Twitter by suggesting that we do the show earlier in the day so that she could make an appearance or other people could make an appearance. And it is kind of true that, like,
wait, who was shaming? Sorry, cut out for me there.
Oh, sorry. I was saying, should we do the show?
No, I heard everything except the name of the person who was shaming.
Shox.
Oh, okay.
If you deporte. So maybe we should consider doing it earlier in the day after like the final, like maybe we do it Saturday after the games are done for play-ins, or I don't know, but I'm down to talk about it.
Yeah, I feel like next week starts on Monday.
Yeah, so we either need to do it Saturday night or like Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, or Sunday.
I would probably lean towards Sunday night.
Okay.
But I'll talk with Ashley and I'll hit you up about it.
Okay, yeah, that would be good. Also, just because I know it's going to be, I do think it will be easier to get international talent, which would be kind of cool for this if we do it earlier. Either way, as everyone can tell, we're still figuring out the timing as this is happening. Spawn, thank you for coming on the show last minute.
International talent, Travis. I'm
Save
from
the show.
Australia.
You are international talent, but I'm saying it will still be easier to get international talent. You literally, we got you 5 minutes before the start of the show, which thank you for coming on, because the amount of topics that were discussed, like, I'm not going to be able to talk about whether or not Tryndamere is good for the game or not, and contest Mark on that. So I really do appreciate you coming on. It's always great whenever you come on. For me, I'll have interviews coming up throughout the week. Probably a little less for play-ins, much more for groups. But I have a request in for Cloud9 interviews tomorrow, so hopefully that ends up happening. I had Avalion stream yesterday, and last night we're going to have that hitting the YouTube channel as well, talking about the work that they put in. And yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in to this week's episode of Hotline League. We'll catch you soon, after play-ins.